What up? What up? What up, people?
Hey!
It is the Nerd Comic Flick Show, NCFS. I got my boys with me. We're ready to talk about some goodness and greatness and some okayness and everything. But we're here to talk about it all. So I got my man down at the bottom, tmitch.com. I got my man to the right over here, the Michael Ducci. And I got my boy down in the corner, Moth Tarkin. And I'm pointing there, so this is the Nerd Comic Flick Show, guys. We come here every time a great blockbuster comes out. We're always talking about like the latest great stuff. So we're here today to talk about The Batman. And before we get into there we go. Before we get into that, I want to make sure that you guys are checking us out on nerdcyclopedia.com. Make sure that you go to that website. You get all our favorite links on at Nerdcyclopedia. We are on Twitter, Facebook, and also on Instagram. Make sure that you are going to our YouTube channel, this channel right here, and also on Facebook to make sure that you're following us there. We even got like a Carbonite Bounty BS Star Wars podcast going on, and also a Facebook group that you can actually join. When you are on YouTube right here, make sure that you're hitting that subscribe button and also hitting that notification button. So anytime that we're on, you know that we're on. Make sure that, if you're listening to us in your car or on your phone, and you got us plugged in, make sure that that you have us on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Spotify, TuneIn, anywhere that you hear, anywhere that you listen to your favorite podcast, we are there. So, guys, are we ready to dive in, or fly off the building,
Fly off the building, deep dive into the Batman.
Into the Batman. First of all, I do want to ask, like, how was you guys' anticipation towards this movie coming out? Let's start with you, Mike, because we got you on the cast.
All right. I mean, going into any Batman movie, I go in open-minded, because you see these actors, all the famous actors who portray a Batman, so you go in knowing what the storyline is going to be. I mean, you don't know what's going to happen, but you at least know what the storyline and like how it's going to proceed. So going into this movie, it's not a happy-go-lucky Batman. It's not these playboy Bruce Wayne that they're going to portray. So you know all this going. It's going to be a darker side of the movies. You don't know how it's going to take you down the trail, but so you're going in knowing all this already. So and I mean, obviously everybody knows Robert Pattinson from Twilight, but this Batman's not going to sparkle or anything. So, I mean, he has the perfect jawline for the cow. So I try to go in open minded. I mean, when you got these Batman movies, you have these stars of actors and actresses coming into their own. So you just hope they don't mess it up in any way. And so I'm very pleased about going into it open minded and being excited for it, basically.
Okay, awesome. How was your anticipation there, T. Mitch?
I'm gonna be honest. I thought it was gonna be crap. I was like, man, here we go. It's gonna be a reboot. And I thought it was gonna be crap. Saying this, I'd say about a year ago, as the trailers came out, the anticipation built. When I got a little backstory, when I seen him actually in the suit, because previously during COVID, we know that there were shoot issues and questions whether he was unfit. He patented that COVID a couple times or whatever. So, I was like, man, this is going to be rushed. It's going to be another DC nightmare. But as we got closer, I was like, man, I don't know how this is going to turn out. This actor is like, I remember him from Twilight, as we said. Didn't know much about Zoe Kravitz, but I went in like Mike said, I went open minded to this. But as we get into this, man, oh man, was I? It took me less than 10 minutes, literally. I was just like, all right, how you like, because you're in a theater and there's lay down chairs. Within 10 minutes, you're just sitting up, like, all right, here we go.
Awesome. How about you, Moth Tarkin?
say, you know what? I've always been a fan of Batman. So any superhero that starts as just a regular guy to me is a win because I can relate. So you really have to think when I see a new Batman film, I think, okay, what about Bruce Wayne? Because that's the important part of this. It's not Batman. Anyone can be Batman. Put a costume on, do some stunts, learn some moves, you can be Batman. But Batman is Bruce Wayne. So when I read that Pattinson had been cast as Bruce Wayne, I knew him from Twilight and a couple other films that he did. He's always very dark. Everything he does is dark, and he has that natural thing in him. He's very emo naturally. Even in interviews, he's very like one line, he's asked a question, he just gives very, very sort of monotone answers. To me, that's really Bruce Wayne, very sad, very troubled, introverted. So this film, I think, got back to the guts, the roots of what Batman was. Very dark, troubled. He lost his family in the most horrific way, and that created the personality that we saw. The casting, they did a bang up job, and I'll just call out one connection, and I don't know, I caught it, but the DA, I forget the actor's name, but the DA was in a movie with Zoe Kravitz's mother, High Fidelity, back in the 90s, which was a great film. But I thought that was interesting because here's this guy that actually was in a film with this girl's mother. I thought that was a kind of a neat. It was JonBenet Ramsey was played this character. So I like the way they picked the people, and I think they picked these relationships good. I mean, it was a slam dunk. The Riddler didn't quite think that he was that diabolical.
That was Peter Sarsgaard.
Yeah. I thought they really pushed that one to the max, the limit. As far as, I mean, he was a lot of Saw reference in there. I mean, the traps that he put these people in, very sinister. I never really pegged him as that bad. I always thought the Joker was a little bit more, I don't know, obscene in the just in the violence of their nature. But I dug it. I like the way they wrapped a lot of Seven. The movie Seven kind of came out with a detective story. And Michael, so what's up with Gotham City that it rains 90% of the time in any Batman movie? Why is it raining? Is it because the elements of pain and suffering are so high in that city that it causes the sky to cry?
It's all the pollution from the Gotham,
Okay, because there has to be
it's the smog,
It's the smog. It has to be something because Batman Returns, it rained. This one, it rained. I mean, just a lot of rain and crying and
you go across the bay to Metropolis. It's sunny, so you got the sun and you got where the sun doesn't shine.
Exactly. So that's Gotham, where the sun don't shine.
The sun don't shine. It's that Pittsburgh weather,
Yeah. But I love this film, and as if I would put this above basically every other Batman film.
There we go.
Hot take effect. So Kyle says the theme song has been in my head since Tuesday. So Kyle, I'm straight with you because as soon as the movie ended, I went straight to that soundtrack and started just bumping that, that Michael Giacchino music and everything.
It's a good riff. It's a real good riff.
I will say though, as Kyle said, when you heard the theme song, shit was about to get real.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And that's what I loved about his character. Like when they played his theme song, like you literally, like the suspense built up in me because you just knew he was about to come through with some, and he was pretty vicious. His name was Vengeance. So
yeah, it goes with the darkness of the movie, like in the shadows, like like I'm in the theater, people are jumping when he jumps out or like something happens, like people are literally jumping in their seats because the buildup of the suspense, it's the music, and then he comes out with vengeance, you know.
Right.
So a lot of
Oh, we'll get to Ken here in a moment with his ranking of the
we
movies.
get another hot take in here.
Yeah.
Dark Knight is better. Oh
We'll-
man.
We'll touch on Ken here. Ken might be
Ken,
stuck up at the
I'm on-
moment.
I'm on your team.
I got some points about why this one is the best one, if not better than any other Batman film.
Don't live in the moment.
All right. Yeah. You got to sit with it a little bit. So my take. First of all, I was very hyped about this movie ever since they premiered it in the DC fandom. About like was it a year or two ago, something like that. Whenever the pandemic was in its trenches and everything, they premiered the trailer, and it was like really just like crazy and stuff. It reminded me of like some of Nolan's stuff. But I just like the whole vibe of it. We're getting another dark Batman where, it's sort of continuing on that vein. So my hype for it was like, really good. And then as they started progressing with like the other trailers and stuff, of course, the hype level just, heightened and everything. So since we're into like reviews and stuff, from Ken, I guess my opinion of the actual movie, it was awesome to see. It was very long, but it was, pulsing from like, from beginning to end, from, the very first scene with like, it just went straight into the movie. So all you get in the beginning is like, the DC logo, and then it goes straight into the Batman, credit. And then it's to the movie. No over, analyzing with like the credits and everything. You just get straight into the movie, and a guy with with binoculars, spying on like the mayor and everything. So that opening scene was just like it was good, but not better than the Dark Knight, opening scene with like the Joker and everything. So off mic, me and Ducci was talking about it and stuff. But it was very, 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 very scary and very seven-ish, as Ken was, like referring to, very, from the opening scene, it just got me just like, right there. And then Robert Pattinson, comes on like later and everything. We start seeing him, and we start seeing like the Batman, cops and stuff. We see him in the midst of, I think this is one of the very few times we see Batman in the midst of like, the police, and the police doesn't really want him around. Like the Gotham PD doesn't really want him around, but he's being escorted by Commissioner Gordon, who's like the lead, well, not commissioner at this point.
Right, he's not even commissioner yet.
He's just Lieutenant Gordon, yeah.
Right, he's not even commissioner.
And I actually have some nitpicks about their whole dynamic and stuff, but we'll get into that later. But he's being escorted onto a crime scene, with the cops saying, we don't want him in there. What is this guy doing here? He's a lunatic. It's a guy dressed in a bat at a crime scene. What the heck is this guy doing here? But yet and still, Lieutenant, trusts this guy, and he's there to, help solve the crime and everything, So we get all that. And, we start getting into like, not necessarily like the Batman's backstory, which we don't really need to hear about, because we heard about it enough at this point. We start getting into the meat and potatoes of this guy's first, the second year, I should say, his second year.
This is year 2 of being Batman.
This is year 2 of him being Batman. We see him like in the beginnings of, his fighting, his fighting skills. We see how that develops and stuff. We see him actually getting punched and hurt, taken back. But like the first true thing that we see coming from the Pattinson Batman is him just taking out, the criminals with that one trailer scene with him just like beating down the one criminal. And it was just very effective, very way of actually introducing him as a very powerful, force in this whole thing. So I did want to ask you guys, from the top, what was your first impressions of seeing like, hold on. Guinevere Rashida said Zoe nailed Cat. So yeah, she nailed Catwoman.
Cat, I agree. Zoe,
yeah, I did.
Definitely got Catwoman down.
She's not Michelle Pfeiffer.
Yeah.
That was a whole different Selena.
That doesn't count. I'm not gonna write that out.
And everything. Yeah. But I wanted to get you guys like a opinion on. Let's start with you, T. Mitch. Let's start with what did you think of your first impression of him coming on the scene?
Oh, my first impression was, I mean, I was honestly shocked because this is the Batman, and I know me and Ken talked because we seen it earlier, about this. This is the Batman I've always wanted to see. This is a more raw Batman, and to me, and I talked to Ken about it. This is somebody that's more believable to me. And when we get into the comparisons of the Dark Knight, which I don't think we should compare, but we can, this Batman to me was believable. Everything he had on his utility belt was real that I can relate
Mhm.
to.
Yep.
The Christian Bale Batman, I still can't get over the Tony Stark robotic leg after he snapped his leg and he can walk with it now. But we'll get into that later. But like, the damage he took, his suit, everything was usable. I mean, the dude walked around and we still don't even see like what's on his knee canteen, what's in that sack. So we didn't get to what's in there. So his suit was cool, and then I said it. The coolest thing to me is the Batmobile. Like the fact that
Yeah.
Batman's actually, you can hear him eating through gears. You hear the turbos
Yep.
pulling in this like early hot rod. I'm like the detail to that to see like he's not in some automatic car that's one
Right.
gear. This guy's eating through
Yeah,
gears. And he's
I thought
driving,
Mel Gibson was going to get out of that thing.
right?
I mean,
Yeah,
that was right out of
it
Road
was.
Warriors.
It was exactly. So I was
mean-
like, man, that was so cool.
And going through the gears like that too, like driving the thing, like the Batmobile. All the modern Batmobile was just like it was like a spaceship, and it just drove itself, and he was
Right.
just behind the wheel. This was like gritty, and that chase scene between him and Oz,
Yeah.
On the bridge.
I mean, that was great, well played. I mean, he
And this is what you said it though. This is year 2 Batman. He doesn't have the inheritance. We don't have the Wayne tech like the Stark tech comes later on. He doesn't have any of this. So this is like a realistic person. What you can do, you would build your hot rod up, and it would be in kind of like a Mad Max, kind of death machine, death race type car. So everything to me in this movie was believable from like if this was a real person, which is what I really liked about Matt Reeves' take on this young Batman.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanna touch on that. I want to go back to like what T Mitch said about the beginning of
Mhm.
just like the the monologue that he has at the very beginning. Fear me, I'm in the shadows. They don't know where I am. When he's talking about that, and then they cut away to the shadow. Is he there? No. Is he gonna cut away to another shadow? Is he there?
Yeah,
You got
where's he gonna jump out?
yeah, right. You see the spotlight, and you see the the Batman signal, and so it's been 2 years. So these people know at night when they see that symbol that the Batman is out there, and they look and he's lurking in the shadows, and you just don't know where he is, and that brings up the suspense with the music. When's he going to come out? Which scene is he going to come out? Now, granted, everybody saw every trailer, so you knew where he was going to come out in that instance. but yeah, I mean, as he just comes out and just walks out, like I'm I'm the man. You're not going to stop me. I've
Yeah.
trained for this my whole life, and he just walks out casually. And as T-Mitch said, I mean, this suit was so real. I mean, it didn't have the fake nipples on there. I mean, it's it was how you see the bat suit. I look at it as kind of like how the Arkham video games were.
Yeah.
It was pretty much just on point with that. Like everything that he had a purpose of that suit. From the electrics in his in his hands, and just everything that he had, the bulletproof of it all, and just the mobility, and just like this was probably the best suit that I've seen of any of the Batman movies.
That's right.
Like it was definitely like from the chest plate where you could pull it out. I mean,
Yeah, it was a
and
knife.
as you-
That's crazy.
and you said, he hasn't even developed all his tools yet. This is just a Batman who has his grappling gun so far. We haven't seen the the Batman shark repellent and all this good stuff yet. So
It may be coming soon. Hey,
right.
If
I don't
there,
even think he didn't have smoke. Didn't he have to throw somebody else's like tear gas or something? He didn't even have this little smoke bombs he uses. So
yeah. Usually,
and that's all like old school Batman. Like DP was saying, like in the series, the police would bring Batman in to help with comfortably. Like the police wanted him there.
Right.
So
Right.
that was a neat thing that they brought out in this film. That Batman was
he's
working
not
with
even the great detective yet. He's still learning how to be a detective at this point in time.
And
you know,
who's he learning from? Gordon?
Alfred.
Alfred.
Well, like I mean,
He got the fighting from Alfred.
Yeah.
The whole detective thing. That's one of the best aspects about this movie was the fact that it wasn't straight up a punch him. Like in the previous Batmans, we get like Batman with his enemy. And they leads to like a fisticuffs at the end and stuff. This was a great thriller. This was a great like detective movie. You're trying to solve like the Riddler's puzzles, trying to solve like his different cars and stuff. And it was 7 all. It's like they went into like the Warner Brothers
and the Zodiac killer.
And right. Yep. Said, what if Batman meets 7 or meets Zodiac, which both were made by David Fincher? So he must have like really good influence there. But yeah, we get like a good detective story, which is for me what I've always wanted to see in a Batman movie. I wanted them to enhance or go into like his detective skills, because he's more than just like your fisticuffs, punch him until they're beat down and everything. This guy actually has brains and can actually figure out things. So it was good to see them, especially in this second year, when he's still beginning to work with Gordon, to figure out why this killer is doing what he's doing in the Riddler.
Yep.
Yeah.
And what was the coolest tech, in you guys' opinion, and anyone can jump in, the coolest new technology that they introduced in this film?
I mean, the car was, the coolest thing that he had. I don't want to say introduced, because we've all seen different versions of Batmobiles.
I've never seen Wi-Fi contact lenses.
Oh yeah. Right.
Okay.
Yes.
I've never seen
recordable contact Wi-Fi lenses.
I've never seen that in any Batman film. I think the movie Hackers, back in the 90s,
95,
95, they had some technology that was based around the eye,
but it wasn't that.
It wasn't
that.
It was not that.
That blew my mind when he got back to the Bat Cave, which is really like the basement of Wayne Towers.
Yeah.
And he popped that thing out and put it on that really dirty technology, like pushing buttons and clicking, and you heard things reading and scanning. I mean, that solidified this to me as a really great, just superhero film.
Yeah, a nice attention to detail on that one. And it's just like, I agree with you on that one, Ken. That technology is just simply amazing. And then he passed it on to to the Catwoman and
And how about the way that he got Catwoman into she called her Selena in the movie, but how about the way he got Selena into actually doing like the dirty work and everything? She was like trying to get him to like be a little bit more compassionate and her situation. Nope.
We put her right to work.
We put her right to work.
Get in there.
You serve me one purpose.
It really displayed like what a asshole this guy really is.
Bruce Wayne.
Wayne. Yeah.
You got to think about it. They said it like, what did Alfred say? Mr. Wayne, I don't think you've been at a business meeting or a community event in like 3 years.
Yeah.
So like the dude literally doesn't even go public.
Nope.
No.
He's just a creep on a motorcycle with his helmet.
His relationship with people is like just null. So and Selena, she guessed it. I'm surprised she didn't guess that he was Bruce Wayne right from the back, because she guessed his background in one line where she was like, you seem like just a guy that's just rich and don't have any type of wherewithal of like, how you're supposed to relate to people. I know another guy like that. So who could that be? But they didn't go there and everything. But I love the way those two actually interacted. And the way the Catwoman actually, Zoe Kravitz actually killed Catwoman. It was really good, because she looked just like the year one, Batman year one Catwoman, with the short hair and the way she was, in that Frank Miller story and everything. So this Catwoman killed it. She pressed, Bruce or the Batman hard, and it wasn't very much, Bruce in the movie. So for her to just interact with, Batman the way she did without actually knowing who he exactly was a really good step up for, the Catwoman character for me.
And it was the only time Bruce Wayne smiled.
Yeah. The only time. Oh my goodness.
Only time.
Doing them.
Nope. Other than that, no smile.
Nope.
You know what's wild in the whole movie about the Batman? If you think about it, the only person who came close to even calling him Batman was the Riddler. Like
Mm.
they had no
Mhm.
Yeah.
name. Commissioner Gordon never called him Batman. The police didn't know. They called him Vengeance. They didn't know some freak. They were
Yeah,
like,
they're
"He's a
calling
freak."
him
You
Vision.
know,
Yeah.
his name was Vengeance to everybody. So that's how raw this Batman is. That he doesn't even have a name along Gotham, being
Correct.
the Batman. Like I think he was written on some of the news articles, but as far as labeling him as Batman, he
Mhm.
was never outside of Riddler named Batman at all, which is really cool. I thought.
Noggin comment says Zoe Kravitz is now our Catwoman. Hey,
Hey,
she can stay.
Robert
Yeah,
Pattinson is our
she has the
Batman.
mantle and the title now and everything until somebody takes it away from her. So
There's nothing wrong with that
she,
statement.
nothing wrong. Yeah,
By the
she.
way,
Go
yeah,
ahead.
I've dubbed this Batman since they had your Batflex or whatever. This is now Patman for Pattinson. So
Patman.
this is Patman. Yeah, this Batman. This is Patman. now.
Patman.
So
Yeah,
so from a, I guess I consider myself kind of a, a cat. Well, I love Batman, but I don't know everything about Batman. All right. Now, to me, I think they told this story in such a way that someone that just saw this movie could get a really good idea about who he was, what he was trying to do. And I think, like T. Mitch, you were talking about, he was vengeance, and that's what the police called him. So I feel like that scene in Gotham Square Garden, when he sort of realized that he wasn't going to go with vengeance, didn't work. He had to find something else. Isn't that when he became Batman?
essentially,
He became something
Not
more.
vengeance.
right.
He became something more. He became, because at the beginning that's why it was so dark, that they just represented him as vengeance, but now by the end of the movie he was representing more of, I don't want to say hope because that's such
Right.
a Superman cliche thing,
Yeah.
but
Right.
he was more than just vengeance. He was,
Yeah.
he was the hope. He was the vengeance. He was,
Yeah.
an individual, making the difference and not just venging people.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because the first, like you said, T. Mitch, like the Riddler kind of called him out as Batman by putting a bat in the trap.
Right.
That was sort of a, like he was saying, I know who you are.
Yeah.
I know what you are.
Yeah.
They
But he
put
never
that
really
bat
knew
in.
who he was, though. He
You would
almost
get
got
that.
him.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he
Yeah.
just
His
Batman
mentor
just
was-
thought he had to be vengeful to be out there to scare his people. Well, the difference was when he knocked out that one guy and he says, "Who are you?" and the guy says, "Vengeance."
Yeah.
That's when it clicks to him. Like,
that's when it clicked. That's when it
Right.
turned. It turned
Right.
the corner.
That's when
for
he
him.
realized, okay, I got to be more than that. So the next thing, he's helping the mayor out from, and helping the kids out.
Yeah.
That was so great too.
Yeah, that's a great pickup because I mean it really defines how he's trying to make an impression on, like, the city of Gotham, the streets of Gotham. And like you said, in the very next scene, he's doing something different and everything, But it's a key thing that you said there. So they mentioned the Batman a lot in the movie through the Riddler's card. This is for Batman, this is for Batman. But I don't think they actually said the Batman until Batman himself said, "Well, this looks like the end of the line for this."
Yeah.
Yeah. He was like,
That's all. Say la vie. We had a good ride.
and then Gordon was like, "The end of what?" He was like, "The Batman." But the good thing about that scene was, like, he was scared as shit.
Oh, yeah.
He was scared as heck. He was like, the Riddler found out who I am. He's solved the puzzle and everything. I'm about to be outed as soon as they unlock this thing at the on the computer and stuff. It's just about to be done. And that was a really great way just to introduce that term, the Batman and everything. For him, irony is what they call it. What for him to say, this is going to be the end of
DP, the even funnier scene is when he tried to interrogate him in Arkham, and he thought he knew he was Bruce Wayne, and he didn't. Bro, you know how shook Pattinson was, like Batman, like trying to punch through the glass. He was freaking out, like, "Oh my God, I need to kill you, like right now."
Yeah. And then Riddler was talking too much to where he started figuring, okay, he doesn't know who I am and everything. So I can calm down a bit, but he was shook. He was shook in that jail cell scene, and those two, they were going off. So the acting between Paul Dano and Robert Pattinson during that scene, it was one of the best classic stuff I've seen in like a Batman movie.
Did the betrayal of the Riddler in this film, did that fit with like the mythos of who the Riddler was?
Well, in this comic book line, it would. So, Deuce might know this. So this story that Matt Reeves took was from a Batman from the Court of Owls, and
Yeah.
we can get into it. But kind of the ethos of this is the first time a lot of people are understanding who Martha, his mom, was, which is
Mhm.
an Arkham.
Arkham, yeah.
And the Arkhams become part of this Court of Owls, which is kind of like a League of Shadows to some sort, but it's kind of like, in the Marvel, continuum would be like the Marvel Illuminati. So this is similar to this is DC's kind of story to that. I believe they're going down this path, but yeah, I mean, how about that? The fact that you find out that they kind of he leaks out that like basically Batman, your mom's like a psychotic fiend, and your dad basically had to keep her caged in, and blah blah blah. I was like, man, this movie's pretty deep.
And
That
that's a good way to rage somebody.
right? That was wild. He's
Yeah.
like, your mom's
Yeah, and that's how I exactly see this coming down is through
Yeah.
like the sequel coming to the Court of Owls,
Yeah.
because it's following exactly that storyline as just you're
Yeah.
saying. So, as the Court of Owls may not be like the main antagonist, or
Right.
protagonist, but they'll be a part of this, as they discover more of the, the outsets of Gotham and everything. Because this one brought you into the club scene, like okay, the out of the officials, that are out in the public eye, but they don't tell you what's behind in the shadows, what's leaking like behind there. So they left it open for them to travel more down that road.
Right.
And just as Noggin Comics is saying, it's this reminds me so much of the
Yeah.
Arkham games, exactly as I said.
Yeah.
Just from the suit, the technology, the Riddler being the villainous in here, and and as we touched on it earlier, the Riddler was more diabolical in this movie as opposed to the comic book the green suit wearing question mark Riddler,
All over
And-
Frank Gordon.
right.
And kind
So-
of the pranks were more funny. Like,
Yeah.
He wasn't actually harming anybody. He was maybe annoying people. It was more annoying. I mean, this was outright. I mean, it was murder.
It was
It wasn't-
serial killerish. Yeah.
Serial killer. And that to me, like all the banquet of villains that Batman went up against
Mhm.
in the entire career of Batman. We had Mr. Freeze and Poison Ivy, and the Joker, to me, seemed to be the most villainous villain of them. The Penguin was more in the background to me. The Penguin really he was more of always a henchman, always a hired hand, not really someone out there.
Right. The Penguin didn't kill unnecessarily. He killed,
Right. But now, if you hired him to kill somebody,
Yeah,
he
that's
would.
true. Yeah.
But he wouldn't do it on his own. Now, this Riddler, he was just
He was. I kind of wonder how they're going to top this particular villain. I think they have to go, because I don't think they can really do a Joker the next movie
No.
after this one,
No.
after this Riddler.
I can answer that. I'll answer that for you when you finish. I don't know.
But but I mean, as you were saying, Ken, this Riddler here, it was totally diabolical. It's straight 7. It was 7 all over again. Just the way he portrayed himself, the whole mask and everything, and how he got silent. How he got more emotional as he talked. It was just all over the place and everything. Paul Dano did such a great job. To me, he was just like one of the best parts of this particular movie. And speaking of other villain stuff, how do we like Colin Farrell's portrayal of the Penguin?
I liked Oz. I like the way they built that character. I didn't even recognize Colin Farrell.
Nobody did.
Like, what the hell was that? What kind of suit was that? It wasn't even a fat suit. It was like an old man fat suit.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, his portrayal was great. But I want to go back to T. Mitch. T. Mitch, I know, wanted to say something real fast.
No,
So
Oh no, I don't. That's not real fast. But anyway, so we I talked about this and I watched the movie premiere. That they needed to give Matt Reeves a blank check under his doorstep after I saw it, and he did sign the blank check. Um, so this has been confirmed. It's a 3-picture deal. So this will be a trilogy.
Mhm.
And the trilogy also adds on an HBO Max series, which will be Arkham. And Arkham will go into the backstory of after this, alluding to Joker and others. So Joker is confirmed to not be the main villain for the second movie, as his story will be told in the Arkham HBO series, which will be next. And I believe that comes out Christmas time, then maybe early spring. So the Arkham
Yeah.
series on HBO Max is the next piece of this little Reeves pie.
Right. Or he'll be in the movies, but he won't be a prominent
Correct.
villain. Did
Yeah.
you know that he had a scene that was actually cut?
Yeah.
Besides the end scene.
Yeah.
Yeah. He had a scene that was actually cut where
Yeah.
Batman went to visit him and and ask him questions, trying to get in the mind of a maniac type of thing.
Yeah.
So
It would have seemed sort of
Wow.
odd for him to actually go up against it, because considering that this Batman is very raw. This Batman is super raw in his second year. So for him to actually have already met the Joker and have already defeated him, or for whatever reason, would have brought some really questions to me in my eyes of how seasoned the Joker would be at this stage versus this particular Batman. Because this Batman here, he's learning on a job. He's not ready to go up against the Joker, not at this point, or at least what I envision of what the Joker.
right, not a well experienced Joker.
Oh,
Yeah, right. Yeah, this is a young Joker, like a young Batman. So,
Right,
and
exactly.
I think as Dusha, as you alluded to the scene, it's like Joker's in and out of Arkham. Kind of like I guess he pulled him over for something stupid and he threw him in there, and Joker's kind of cool living in there. So,
hmm
yeah, I kind of liked it. It's funny because when I was watching the scene, if you caught it, I thought it was Two-Face at first. When they showed like the kind of the shadow of the Joker's face when at the end of the movie. If you seen it, I thought it was like, is that Two Face? Because his face kind
yeah,
of
it
his
did look
smile.
like
Right,
I was,
you can see.
yeah,
everything. Yeah.
Well, I guess they say that that this Joker like has a disease that makes him continuously smile, and that's why he's smiling
That's
always. But
that's what they talk about in the movie
yeah,
Joker,
yeah.
is that he has a mental disorder, and I second that Reeves obviously understood Batman as a character, because to me, like I said, when I'm looking at a superhero story, I want to know who the human side of that, like
mhm.
Clark Kent, like Bruce Wayne. I want to know Tony Stark. I want to know about the human behind the mask, and
Right.
how believable is that? And to me, Batman is the most human character and the most molded by some horrible event that turned him either one way or the other. Like, think about it. Bruce Wayne could have been a baddie.
Yeah.
I mean, with
Yeah.
what happened and what we understand is what created him, he could have been Joker.
Well, that's why the Joker's the anti-Batman.
And when
That's why you can't have a
Okay,
Joker
so
without a Batman.
that makes sense. So he's Satan to Jesus Christ.
Right. I mean, as the Joker even said, and all it takes is one bad day. That's the difference.
It's one
It's a
one
good
bad
thing
day
that,
and how
One
you
bad
handle
day.
it.
It's a good
Yeah.
thing that Bruce stays holed up in his mansion the whole time, to not be affected by all of Gotham's craziness and stuff.
Right.
And the good thing about Matt Reeves
Are
understanding.
you even in the city limits?
Oh yeah, right, exactly. He's like so far out. But the good thing about Matt Reeves, what Derpy Gaming is saying about Matt Reeves realizing Batman is a character, Matt Reeves also realized that Gotham is a character, because his Gotham City was the most darkest and deepest I've seen it. Probably
So much rain. So much rain.
So much rain, and it was alive.
so much rain. But since Tim Burton's Batman, where Tim Burton really defined how Gotham was from that point, he's a number one and everything. But Matt Reeves, he really put like a lot of rain. He put a lot of emotion and a lot of crying, as we was talking about off mic, in like Gotham. So Gotham, if you're in that city, is not. There's no sun whatsoever. You just see dawn and then night, dawn and then night. That's it. That's all you get from the Batman and everything. So Matt Reeves understood Gotham as an actual place and a character, and that was just as big of a character in this movie as any of the other characters that we see. So yeah. So very good on that, Derby. We got anybody else saying, yeah, this film had everything that, yeah, I mean, it had everything that you wanted in the Batman film, from the car that let's talk about that that chase scene on the bridge and everything.
Let's
Come
talk
on.
about that.
Yeah, please. I mean, I told you, like, me and Ken said it. The fact that like it's a real car, first off, that you can actually he could build. They
Uh-huh.
even did the typical Batman. They put the rocket in the back, so it's rocket powered, which he didn't
Right.
really need. But the fact that you can hear this guy like driving a muscle car, eating through gears. I mean, he looks pissed off in his face. So this guy's eating through gears as he's driving, and then you hear like the turbo spool up, and it's like a real like hot rod. It's kind of like giving you your Fast and Furious vibes. I
Yep.
mean,
Yeah, that's exactly what I was gonna say. I felt
exactly.
like
Yeah,
I felt like, where's Vin Diesel? Where's he gonna come
right,
out? Like family, man, family.
right.
And I was waiting for
He needed a cross necklace. He had
Right.
pulled that
And
out. You know what I mean?
that's all that real grittiness that was always in, like, to me, the story of Batman was just there. He had junk to deal with. He had just
Right.
put
He
stuff
he
together
he
for
wasn't
himself.
driving a tank around town. You
No,
know, it's
right.
like
Yeah, yeah.
Well, think about how pissed he was. I mean, this guy was seriously sinister, bro. He wrecks him like he like smashes his car. Like,
yeah.
you know, he trying to kill him. Like, I'm thinking like, you know, Batman, he'll like throw his little spikes on the ground to flatten his tires. No, I'm just gonna smash you and flip your car over like 12 times. Like,
And
That
he
is-
caused a horrific accident
right?
on this highway. Multiple vehicles and civilians were in danger here.
Yeah.
Vengeance, vengeance, bro. He was out for vengeance.
He's in year 2. Unlike what we've seen in like, you know, Batman versus Superman, where he was just didn't care whatsoever and everything. You know, but this is year 2 Batman, where he's beginning not to care whatsoever about he is on the highway and everything. It was craziness and stuff. And I love like even they had in the commercials Penguin's reaction to being, you know, thinking that, you know, he got away from Batman and everything. He's like, I got you, you know, I'm getting away and everyththing. And all of a sudden you see the Batmobile just burst through like the fire. That was
That's
one of
why
my
he had the
favorite
rocket.
scenes.
That's
Yeah,
why he had the
yeah.
rocket on the back.
Right. I think the funniest part of that scene was like as he walks up to the car and just dips his head down to drag him out, like, you know, because I'm thinking he's gonna smoke him at that point. I'm like, oh man, he's gonna kill this guy. Like he's already on one, and then he just looks over. Then the next scene you see him tied up. I'm like, oh man, I don't know if that was like him trying to give a little bit of humor to the character, but yeah, when he just walks up to him, you see his legs and his head dip down. I'm like,
Right,
oh,
right.
okay.
Like,
I guess that's supposed to be comedy. Yeah.
He still needed to get information, so that's the detective part. He
yeah.
still needed to find out
Yes.
what this guy knew.
Yes.
So he knew he couldn't just off him. He had to interrogate him.
Batman
and that's
doesn't really off people anyway.
right. This is my Batman that doesn't kill people, right? Because it would just be too easy, and you don't want to go down that road.
What do you
It's
mean? In
too
44, those guys getting thrown over the balcony. You think they made it?
What are you doing?
Come on. Yeah.
They
Zudi
did not
Electric
die.
He just doesn't shoot people, Michael. He just doesn't shoot people. Now throwing them over the balcony, you know,
Yeah.
it is what it is. If you
He
Exactly.
caught most of
Hey.
them. He hung most of them up.
Yeah,
You know,
he hung him.
hey, all I know is if you played the Batman games, it's the same thing. He picks them up and he drops them, and they, you know, get knocked out.
Whatever happened.
Right.
Knocked out.
Everything.
Broken leg here, there, you know, whatever.
He
you know?
only tasered him for 40 seconds, and you can't taser somebody over 15. But yeah, he didn't
Right.
kill him. You know,
That's not killing them, you know.
he stunned him for severely. Brain damage. It's all right.
Right, he can live on
Yeah.
oxygen.
That's perfectly fine. He's not dead.
Right, he's not pulling the plug on anybody. I mean,
So I did have a couple nitpicks, and you know, I mean, there's always something. I mean, number one, the movie was 3 hours and everything. It could have been cut down a good 30 to 45
Yeah.
minutes.
that was like a Zack Snyder, like
Yeah.
Oh, he got Matt Reeves. As great as a film this was for Matt Reeves and stuff, and believe me, I've trusted Matt Reeves from like Planet of the Apes, all the Planet of the Apes movies and stuff. And ever since he did like the first Cloverfield movie, you had me at Matt Reeves. I knew he was gonna, you know,
Right.
do like a great Batman movie. But 3 hours, Matt, oh man, it's like, you know, you came in there just like Zack Snyder in the whole thing.
right. But at least it wasn't like 3 hours like the Watchmen 3 hours. You know, it was more like the Avengers 3 hours.
Yeah, it was more than you know.
Infinity War, 3 hours, not Endgame.
Right, right,
Not Endgame.
It didn't feel like 3 hours to me.
right. Exactly, because it kept
like
you
breezed by.
like, what's the Riddler doing now?
Yeah. I mean, you know, I was about to say, so you know, you had the Batman, you know, do a lot of you know, first second year type things and everything. We got like you know, we got a new Alfred. You know, what do we think of when last time we see him was like in the Avengers stuff? You know, what do we think of I forgot my man's name.
Serkis.
Yeah, Serkis. What did we think of Serkis as Alfred? We didn't see much of him, but I thought he was a pretty cool Alfred.
Right. This portrays more of the Alfred of, you know, the British fighter Alfred,
Right,
you know,
yeah.
the one who taught Bruce Wayne the fighting, you know, not the old decrepit, you know,
Yeah.
Alfred, but you know, the actual, like, yeah, the Alfred, like, you know, like you said, he taught him how to fight. So
Mhm.
This
so we
Alfred
get
didn't even
that
clean the
Alfred.
house. They had a cleaning lady. I mean, this
Right,
ain't
right.
the.
So yeah. So what was Alfred doing
And
like
who
the
was
whole
that? I
time?
never
Like,
knew there was
was he like a
girl
bodyguard?
there.
Maybe I don't
Right.
know. What was he? Yeah, they had a cleaning lady.
They had a whole like thing up in there for taking care. I mean, I guess you got to have a crew besides just Alfred taking care of Wayne Manor and everything. You know.
Right.
Yeah,
Alfred's busy doing other stuff.
Yeah.
He's opening the mail, you know.
Opening, inventing stuff.
You know, the mail.
Right.
Opening mail.
He's opening the mail.
So Alfred, as soon as you see, this is for Batman. I mean, you think that you really want to open that and everything, but I guess by then it was like too late. But
Yeah.
poor Alfred, he had to get the brunt of I love the way
he didn't die. See, people
No,
don't die.
Yeah. I love the way that Batman reacted to that, because he was trying to get in touch with Alfred to tell him to not open the mail and everything, but the way he just reacted to him, because he was scared to death. This is year 2 Batman, so he has cause and effect. Actions have consequences. So stuff that happens to him can happen to other people, and I don't think he's really realizing that yet. And he's just now realizing that the actions that he takes can have effect on like other folks and stuff.
And
So,
that's what the villains always use against the hero is they don't actually go after the hero. They go after the hero's family. They go after their friends, because that's how. I mean, face it. If somebody threatens you, all right, come at me. But somebody threatens your parents, somebody threatens your brother, your mentor, significant other. That's a whole new ball game, and that's real. That's a need for real vengeance right there.
That's where you like to take over the night and everything. Now, like I said, it didn't feel like 3 hours.
No,
Agreed. It did not feel like 3 hours. I was pleased with that.
Yeah. It was a lot of it was a long third act. I even though it was 3 hours, it was long. I still felt that it could have been tighter if you cut down, like some stuff down there at the end. You had like the Bat and the Cat sort of like resolving their end things and stuff. Well, I guess that was fine, and playing to like the fact that these two having like some sort of relationship together, because I guess you have to have that, in a Batman movie. I actually half forgot that Catwoman was about to be in this movie until she showed up at the beginning of the series, because I was just so captivated by like what Riddler was doing and what Batman was doing. And all of a sudden, she shows up and starts doing her thing and everything. What else? How do we compare this movie? This is a big question. So how are we comparing this movie to other Batman films as far as like as far as what we're thinking and ranking? So if you wanted to rank, seeing that we just seen this film in his first weekend, and I know T. Mitch saw it twice already, so he sat 6 hours.
That's 6 hours, man.
6 hours.
You can tell I have a life. You can tell I have a life. Yeah.
All right. So I'll go, because Ken already said this is the best. So
yeah,
I definitely have a bias opinion on this one. So I consider the '89 Batman the best Batman movie.
Woo! Hot take.
Yes, I feel like that is the best Batman movie, because the Joker I felt was the best Joker. Yes, I'll call that one the best Joker.
I'll take that.
Michael Keaton played a great Batman and a great Bruce Wayne. So he just wasn't just one character. He played a Bruce Wayne and then you have the Tim Burton over effect of it all. I mean, come on. I mean, that was just, it brought back comic books, and it was a comic book movie, and it brought back the comic books. And and then and then The Dark Knight, just because of just the greatness
Mm,
of the movie of it in general.
right.
It has
Okay.
the best opening scene of any movie, and then just from there, and then I gotta circle back to Tim Burton again with Michelle Pfeiffer and Danny DeVito.
Wow, hot take, hot take.
I
Number
can't do that
three.
one. I won't get that one. I didn't know that one.
And then I go with number four. But I can throw this one in the same respect as the one with the penguin and the Catwoman,
Yeah.
because if you got a comparison, that you have a penguin and Catwoman in that movie and a penguin and Catwoman in this movie, and as much as I liked Colin Farrell and Zoe Kravitz as their characters, I think Danny DeVito and Michelle Pfeiffer was a better penguin and a better Catwoman.
Hmm.
But again, that's how I look at it as for my movies. So that's where I go. Number four. I'm not living in the moment.
All right, Tarkin, where are we at with top three Batman movies?
So I second that, what you said, Michael. Yeah. The Tim Burton Batman, right up there. Basically, if I had to pick two to watch forever, I would pick that one and this one, the Batman, because I think they both captured the dark element, the sad, the trouble, the kind of crumbling technology, crumbling Gotham. Really the sort of Gotham was engulfed with crime. You could even say, I would even call The Godfather as a Batman movie, because it really kind of told a story about how a city, Gotham, New York, whatever city, Pittsburgh, gets engulfed by syndicate crime. And crime, crime at such a level that it envelops the police, envelops the people that we hire to protect us. And that's what befelt Gotham, and that's why Batman was born, to bring balance back, to help us get out of this crime-ridden city that we were in. We needed a superhero. We needed vengeance. We need someone that was powerful enough to stomp out crime, to get and really dig in. Like, the police can't really dig in. Plus, they've been bought. All the police are all working for Falcone, right? And I liked that they brought him back into the mix, because I think we forgot about where the crime was, and it was this guy, this crime boss, that was actually pulling the strings of the police that made them all dirty. So, I mean, I really dig this film. I really like the Tim Burton film in that respect, because it really brought all that dirtiness in, and crime and dark and horrible people dying. The villains were only just a little frosting on the whole thing. It brought this whole new superhero element in, but really it was the humans that were really destroying each other. The humans were really messing everything up. We just needed the villains to kind of the superhero villains to make it a bigger story. But I would say, I don't know. We didn't even talk about. Did anyone mention Batman Begins? I think that's a good film. I could
Not better than this.
Yeah.
not better
Not better
than
than
this,
this.
but I like the
It's on
backstory
top
element. I
three
like
right
the
now.
build.
Yeah. T. Mitch.
I'm gonna give Mike the benefit of the doubt. So we're gonna keep 89 number one. I mean, he's right. We have to be
Really?
honest.
Oh my God. Okay.
But this is definitely two out of everything else. I mean, you have to pay homage, because that was, and I talked about it, with my children even, hopefully, and I heard this Joker is going to be closer to, the Zoot Suit kind of Dick Tracy type Joker that I grew up understanding, kind of like your Nicholson one. Hopefully he has a purple suit on. I thought they would go that with the Jared Leto style one, but then he had the tattoos and stuff, and it took it a little too far. But I kind of I like this story. I really like the Christian Bale, Christopher Nolan stuff. I did, but I will say this: I'll have to revisit this as the trilogy ends to see where this really sits, because, and I said this off mic, what this movie did for DC, this is a big year for DC. I think. I mean, this movie
Mm.
is a huge, huge slap that I feel personally in Marvel's face because I think Marvel is cruising right now, and they took their foot off the gas in the last couple films. And this movie was something that showed that DC might have finally arrived. We got it with the first Batman or first Superman movie. The Christopher Nolan stuff he did with the Dark Knight really wasn't in the continuum of the whole DC universe. But if they keep this one and this movie for itself, the Batman, I can't. I mean, they showed those trailers beforehand when they got the Black Adam, the Flash. I mean, if this is the future of DC, Marvel needs to pick it back up because we talked about this last time we did Netflix. This action, this movie is what I wanted in Spider-Man. I didn't get it. I thought Spider-Man was too much story. This is if they did Spider-Man this way, whole different reaction.
Interesting.
Now, the only problem with that one, T. Mitch, though, is like this one is not in the DC universe that we know
No,
of.
no, no.
So I mean that in itself is like, don't mess up a Batman movie
Right.
type of thing.
But
Like,
yeah, but
it's
hopefully
really
they don't
hard
mess
to
up
mess
nothing
up
else.
a Batman
Yeah.
movie.
Yeah.
You would say that, but
So
hey,
DC,
man, we've seen it.
right, but even those weren't really true Batman movies. Well, the late ones, the late
Yeah.
'90s ones, but yeah,
Yeah.
but besides those ones, I mean, those were just money grabs, and who knew? Like, yeah, those ones. But
Yeah.
Well,
these ones, they try to make more of a movie out of them,
Right.
and so I mean, DC, if you mess this up, you can't go back. I mean, like
Yeah.
you can't
Well,
mess up
think about it,
Batman.
dude. We talked about this the last show, right? This is DC. This was DC's last strike. Like
Yeah.
people were giving up. Like they had to get this movie right to now allow me to go watch Flash. Because to be honest, I was like, bro, I'm not going to see the Flash. After Wonder Woman, I was done. I'm like, man,
Mhm.
come on. So this was their last strike for me, and they hit a home run. So you got me
Right.
back.
It's just I fear because it's not in the same universe. What's going to
Right.
happen? Because
so that brings me around to my two nitpicks. Number one, you guys just already hit on it.
Well, Sam, what's your rating before you nitpick?
Okay. All right. So
You see, you try to sidestep it. It's all right. Though.
Right, right.
yeah,
Come on,
come
come on. Give me your hot take.
But the number one for me is the Dark Knight. So it's the classic. It's a classic mood, Chris Nolan, grounded, realism as far as like, that particular one. This was grounded, but to the point where, come on now, it's raining all the time there. At least Dark Knight had like, I don't think it had rain in the movie. But it had like,
spots in it.
You're right. It has like bright spots in it. It made Batman a lot more realistic, in that universe, versus what I've seen here. This was like a grounded, real, gritty realism in a type of way. So my top was like, Dark Knight, had like the great, Hans Zimmer, music and everything that heightened like, some really good scenes in that movie. And it took a lot of the practical effects that Nolan was good for that, to make that movie really great. And then number one, the Joker. The Heath Ledger's Joker was just really tops for me as far as like, the best Batman villain I've seen in all these movies and everything. The second one probably to me would be this one. I would need to sit back and actually sit down again to watch this movie to get it. But the score for me had me, dun dun dun.
What about Prince? The whole score of the '89 Batman Prince.
That's my third. Yeah, come on,
What did that music? What did that music almost sound like?
Yeah, right. Yeah, like some Empire, like
Yeah, it had a Star Wars.
Yeah.
Darth Vader should have been walking out there to give
Right,
like
yeah.
Bruce Wayne a
like,
pitch
what are you
slap
doing?
or something.
Well, it kind of had that moment, where he walks out of the darkness, kind of like
Yeah.
Vader walking out with the lightsaber.
Every time,
Mark
Batman
Hamill
came
walking
on
out.
scene,
Yep.
Every time Batman came on scene, you got like that music. So music is really a really thing that pulls me in. So if I'm loving your music, you're really pulling me into like your story. The only like detractor, like I said, for me is the fact that it was as long as it was. Other than that, I mean, this is like the second, and then the third for me is like Michael Keaton's Batman, because to me he had like the best Bruce Wayne. I love Michael
his
Keaton.
Bruce Wayne.
It was just like off kilter, like real like distracted. It was distracted is the best way his Bruce Wayne was. His Batman was good, but his Bruce Wayne was great. And the elements in that particular movie, and it was the first time we had like a really good solid comic book movie when comic book movies at that point in time weren't really doing good. So Naga says again, a second viewing of the film is necessary. Yeah, definitely got to see it again to really sit with
Right.
it.
Do you have another 3 hours?
In history, right?
Would you say, Ken?
If I saw it again, it would move it up number one in history.
Yeah, it might.
We've had our
twice already. He still
I saw
puts
it
the
twice.
89 Batman at top and everything, but I think that secretly it might be his number one.
Better than Endgame, I'll say that.
Woo! Here we go. Hot take. But
It's not a hot take. That's truthful. This is right behind Deuce. This is not right behind Winter Soldier. Is it not?
He really wants to go.
Oh, I mean, The Winter Soldier was just the best Marvel movie. Yeah,
This is not
The Winter
this is number
Soldier is
two.
the best Marvel movie.
The teammates is trying to pull me into like I
I'm
don't
drawing
know
them out. I'm trying to
necessarily
draw
have that
VP
type
out.
of debate in this movie. I know what you're trying to do. I know what you're trying
I'm
to
not
do.
trying to draw you out.
Oh,
Maybe to a
Just
set of-
the realistic factor, the grittiness of everything.
exactly.
That's what makes it. That's what makes this a great movie.
But
I just look at by comparison that Michael Keaton overrules everybody else, and that's why that movie was a better
And
movie.
he's from Pittsburgh.
And he went to Kent State.
Oh, here we go.
I mean, think about it, this Batman wasn't OP. Dude took a shotgun to the chest and had to get adrenaline to get up. Like,
Now,
come on.
hold on. Now, was that adrenaline or was that the Bane juice?
I thought I said it was green. I don't know, right?
I think.
I mean, it was green. It was green. It
green.
could have been the Bane juice.
You know what's also crazy though? He didn't even have a batarang in the whole movie. Did you notice that? No batarangs.
Oh no! He took the bat off his chest and
It was a knife. Yeah.
and everything, but that wasn't like
Yeah, he hasn't got the ninja stars.
No, not yet. Not yet.
There
So
were,
see,
there were bats in the cave, though.
He'll-
He had bats flying around.
Yeah. Bats all.
Everybody has it.
So I want to get to my two nitpicks. Number one, the bat.
We thought we already heard those.
No. Right, exactly, right. So, so the bat signal, I didn't see any purpose for it, any reason in the movie for it, just for effects purposes. But to me, if this Commissioner Gordon hasn't gotten the department on board with the Batman being, on the scene and everything,
He
how
wasn't
did
the
they let
commissioner
him-
yet, though.
Yeah, I'm not saying commissioner, he's lieutenant.
Yeah.
So
Right.
if he hasn't gotten no more, how did they let him get away with putting a bat signal on the top of the roof? The signal.
It wasn't on the
It wasn't
police
in the-
roof.
It wasn't the police room.
It was in a
They went to-
construction.
yeah.
It was in
They went to a
construction-
secret location.
So, okay,
Yeah.
okay, all right.
Right.
So that's why you need a second viewing of this movie, because I'm thinking this bat signal.
No, it was in a secret
so-
location where just Gordon knew,
Oh,
and that's how they communicated.
great. Okay,
That's how they would know to meet.
Batman knew where to look.
Right, and that's how Catwoman got Gordon and
Oh,
Batman to come there at the same
So that was
time.
the first nitpick.
she
You can
turned it
crumple
on.
that up and throw it away. What's
So
Yeah,
it
exactly.
It must piss,
Second nitpick is it's not in game.
it must piss the. Here we go. It must piss the police off so much every time they see that signal in the air, knowing that wow, this guy's about to come in and just mess up our whole
Or they might, hey, we got the night off.
Yeah. That'll happen later down the line. My second nitpick was the fact that, as I'm watching this movie, I understand what you're saying that, Mike Reeves has a blank check and everything, but I'm a little sad that this particular Batman, I want to see him interact with like the superpower supernatural at some point. I don't think we're going to get that, because Batman essentially
What do
doesn't
you mean by
exist.
that, though? Like the Superman kind of the whole universe?
Oh yeah. I'm not.
You want like metas to come out of the woodwork? Like, what do you
I'm
want?
not saying that this has to be just turned into like some DC. You got to send everybody in and everything, but for the Batman to actually not be able to interact, to try to put Batman just in his own universe and say, there's no way you could fit that tone with like Superman. There's no way you can fit him with
You're talking just.
but it happens in the comics all the time.
Yeah, but I mean, they're not going to let Reeves roll.
I know that. That's what I'm saying.
They're not going to have another universe.
I know that. That's what I'm saying. It's a little disappointing for me that as great as this movie was, that we're not going to get that. At least have them try to do that. later down the line.
I wouldn't say they wouldn't. It's just that right now they're still paying off Zack Snyder because they don't know what they're going to do with his stuff. Because they have the Justice League done. Like I said, Flash is coming. I mean, if this Reeves stuff kicks off, who says that he doesn't be an executive producer? Because as I said, everybody talks
They made
about
that
how
mistake with that Snyder and everything, and this to say that who's to say that it's not that Matt Reeves' next movie is going to be as good. I mean, I trust him. I trust Matt Reeves, like I said already. So,
right. I mean, you go by what you see, and I mean, if you
Right,
see something a good product.
I done froze T. Mitch. I mean, with my take and everything, he's just like in wonderment of like in awe of me. So yeah, thank you, T. Mitch. Thank you.
Because the problem is you don't want to see another reboot, another Superman,
you don't.
another Flash.
You don't and everything. It's just that if they, I don't necessarily. I'm an interconnected guy, so I'm so used to like MCU stuff and everything.
Right. You want the universes. You want the everything to intertwine with each other. You really do, especially comic books.
At the very least, I'll at least put the Batman family in there somewhere.
Yeah.
I think this Batman here needs a Robin.
Well, he's still young. This is only his second year.
He's still young.
Yeah,
he's still young. I mean, how long did it take Batman to get Robin before? It's not like it just came.
And that's a good question. Like, will the fan base want a Robin? Do we need to have that sort of relationship? Does Batman need a partner? I mean,
this one does. I don't think necessarily the other ones didn't, but this one does, because this guy, he doesn't smile. He's so sad all the time.
Right. But he doesn't want to even be Bruce Wayne yet.
He's so disconnected from his Bruce Wayne life. I think this particular Batman, he doesn't need a happy-go-lucky boy.
So is Alfred going to give him a puppy or something? It's like going to make him smile.
Yeah, that.
Hey, but he did say in the movie though that he can't be everywhere at one time. So I think that's a tease to at some point where he's going to realize that he needs
a Robin.
He needs help. If it's not necessarily a Robin, maybe bringing in Batgirl or somebody at some point to help him out with this crime thing.
T-Bitch, you gotta calm your boy down here. He's already spinning off Robin movies.
Listen, yeah, bro. I think it was funny. We were in the middle of that. I thought he contacted Anonymous. And when I got the red ring on my computer, I was like, what?
He's like, I'm gonna shut this down real fast.
Yeah.
All right, now we're gonna talk about Robin.
So I did DP. I'll give you that though. I thought that kid was going to be Robin. It's obviously not, but I don't know if they're going to go.
Funny fact about that one.
He sure can't be still.
Well, hold up. That kid plays Robin. He's played Tim Drake on Titans, the TV show.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if they'll do Tim Drake, if they'll do Dick Grayson. I personally, based on this kind of dark story, I would like to see maybe for movie 3, like Nightwing, when him and Batman are at loggerheads and they kind of don't like each other, based on how Matt Reeves are doing these darker stories. Or maybe even do a Nightwing story based on this, because I can see that kind of grittier. That I mean, how cool would that be? Batman
Bloodhaven, so
Batman versus Nightwing type movie.
Traditional Robin route, so
or we
go straight to Nightwing.
Or let's do number 2. Let's do what? Deathstroke, right? Let's go right into it. That's what you like. You want these fan service. We want.
As long as I don't see this end up on the CW as like some sort of weird, like love
Green Arrow.
Yeah, that would be my like nitpick. Like if someone sold a storyline to CW to do.
Well, I mean, they're going to put it on HBO Max, like as you said. I mean, they're going to break it off and do a spin-off of Arkham. And what are they going to do? Are they going to do like the Arkham Rogues or like Arkham Stories? Like,
whatever they do with HBO is going to be right in line with what we want to see. I don't.
The problem is, it's not James Gunn doing Peacemaker on HBO. It's what's. I doubt Matt Reeves is going to do an HBO show.
No, it is his.
He's going to executive produce it.
Right, executive. Everybody executive produces.
Well, I mean, it's going to be in sync with like this universe. Or
Nolan has executive produced everything.
Nolan's hands are on all this blood we're talking about.
Right. So executive produce and actually doing it are two different things.
You're right. You're
like
right.
James Gunn
Yeah,
wrote
he
Peacemaker.
wrote
You
and
know,
directed almost all the episodes. So
right. So he's
yeah,
going to be, and he's doing season 2 of Peacemaker. And I mean,
yeah.
how great of a series that is. If we even talked about that, where's our podcast for Peacemaker?
Yeah, we'll get to that and everything. Peacemaker. They had the Did everybody see Peacemaker on here?
I
Yes.
didn't see it.
Okay.
Oh,
Well,
oh,
do you care? So
I can't see anything.
okay, so spoilers if you didn't
Oh,
see
thanks.
Peacemaker. Or maybe I shouldn't even go to that since this is a Batman.
right, right. We can't go to
I- I-
Peacemaker.
We'll save it for you guys to come
Yeah,
back.
we'll save it. But wrapping it up and everything. This just to kick it off, my overall feeling of this movie was really good after I left it. Despite the fact that I wanted to be part of the universe, for the fact of it to be like a Batman pure detective movie, a thriller movie, was one thing I really been wanting to see for like this whole time. So my overall just feeling coming out of the movie was to go listen to that soundtrack and actually relive the moment in my head like all over again. So if I had to give this a Ken out of Ken, it would be a Ken out of Ken.
There we go. There we go.
Dookie, how did you feel? How was your overall?
Okay, so I basically so my favorite games, and I'm not too much of a gamer, but I do play video games, and though the Arkham games, the whole series of those was just a spectacular that I always wish they would make it into a movie. So I feel like this is right on par of that, and it's a different take exactly. So I'm hoping that they do continue with the Court of the Owls storyline, just so we can see different characters in different ways the characters are being brought out. Like this Riddler, we've never seen a Riddler like this on screen, at least.
Right.
So it's a different take, and it's and it's different than just seeing him fight the same characters and the same storylines. So it's good to see the detective part of it, the darkness of it, the interactions of bringing in like Seven, Zodiac Killer, all these different great movies, and bringing into the concept of this Batman, and still this Batman being young and naive and not knowing anything but vengeance. So letting him learn how to become a better Batman, a better person, and maybe, to nitpick the one thing, like I would have liked to see more Bruce Wayne, just because like I just like Bruce Wayne as a character as well too.
It was 90-10 as far as Bruce Wayne and Batman. It was
Yeah.
literally 10% Bruce Wayne.
And, right, and the 10% was still
Not
a
much.
letter being received for Batman, in the funeral, so it's like it was. So, but as for things goes, I mean, it's like I said, it's not my favorite Batman. It's definitely not, by all means, a bad movie. I enjoyed the 3 hours. I'm going to see it again, obviously, and so I mean, I'm giving it, about my 8 out of 8.5 ish range out of a Ken. So 8.5 Kens.
Yeah, there we go.
Right, because like we said, it's not as good as the Winter Soldier. It's not as good as the first Batman, and I mean those are classic 9-10 movies. So it's not on par with that, but it's definitely better than some of the other movies that we've been seeing recently. So,
T. Mitch.
I thoroughly enjoyed this. And to your point, I would rate this above The Dark Knight because The Dark Knight doesn't fall really in the whole DC continuum either. So, I do like this take on Batman. Batman Begins was more of a League of Shadows, and I thought, honestly, looking back at it now, that was a train wreck. I didn't like the Ra's al Ghul themes and all that, and we can discuss that another day. But is this an intro to a trilogy? This is way better than Batman Begins. So I will say with Reeves right now, it's kind of like when Marvel got hot. I don't know how he tops it. I mean, it was kind of like when you did, the Joker with the Dark Knight. The third one and the Pittsburgh one, and we was fan service to us because we live in Pittsburgh. It didn't top the Dark Knight. So I'm very interested, and he really has to come with it for the second one now. I mean, like my expectations are through the ceiling. So
right, just don't waste the Joker as a character, and just don't throw him in just because you want to do a money grab.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You have him in the movie, perfectly fine. don't have him as the main guy.
Well, yeah, and we've seen it though. I mean, there's so many more villains. Just like we
Yeah.
talked about during our Spider-Man. There are so many more villains. They don't have to go the Joker route.
Right.
We can see Deathstroke that they kind of teased in the Snyder cut, I believe, right, or one of them. We can see somebody else. I mean, somebody more sinister, especially. I thought when they had the real quick the Club 44 scene, I thought the one girl was Poison Ivy sitting next to or they could have used her as Poison Ivy sitting next to the Penguin when he did that scene. But and that's when Bruce Wayne went in there talking to Falcone. But yeah, there's so many more people they can do. Just don't do fan service and give us who we want. Let Reeves do this his own way and pick some other villains out of the comic books and let him run with it.
I would love to see. I don't know how they could do it on the realistic base, but I would love to see like a Clayface. You really haven't seen
Yeah.
him in a movie scene. So I just don't hope they don't do it and do it like as a Sandman in
Well, as I
Spider-Man
say,
3.
Shout out to the greatest animated series ever.
Ken,
I heard that. Yeah.
So, all right. So this film, to me, for me to grade a film, so I go to see a movie and I want to know, I want to feel like when I leave that I didn't just throw away 2-3 hours of my life. And I think this film didn't do that. I loved every minute of it. I even liked the trailers in front of this film. I didn't mind watching the Doctor Strange film, the trailer. I didn't mind watching all of that to get to this. And I feel like this film, anybody could go see this. My wife and I went to see this film, and there was enough in there. I mean, my wife, I can't get her to sit through 30 minutes of something that I enjoy. I mean, and she sat through all 33 hours of this and was engaged. And I think that's a good film. When you can when it starts and you're into the story, you're into the characters, and you don't have to worry about, I don't know everything about everything on these characters. That's a good film. And I would definitely put this right up there. I mean, we're talking like Batman Returns, like Tim Burton. We're talking like these films are like right there. They're really cusping on each other. I'm gonna have to go see this one again. I mean, I don't know when I'm gonna get to it, but I'm gonna get to see this one again. And I would definitely appreciate the fact that this thing gave something to everybody sitting in that theater. And to me, that's a good film. And that's something that puts it on the Ken out of Ken list. When everybody in the theater, not so much does it follow the backstory? Is it the expanded universe? Does it follow the comic books and the trading cards and all these other things? No. Is it just a good film? And does it capture the experience? That to me makes it a Ken out of Ken. So there's a lot of films out there that do it for me.
Yeah.
Star Wars, anything Star Wars based on the new arc timeline. And I think this Reeves guy, who honestly I wasn't real familiar with him, but if he runs with this in the same passion that this one was done, he's got it. He's got everything from the, if he's going to do a trilogy, and as long as he connects everything, I mean, this is going to be a great story for us to watch and review and just breathe in, because this story, this Bruce Wayne, this Batman, this Gotham City, all these things we've been talking about, these characters, so well developed. And I think this is definitely just a great experience that everyone should go watch this film. It's so good.
But don't bring your kids. It's not a movie for kids.
It's too damn long. My 7-year-old can't get long for 10 minutes, let alone 3 hours. But yeah, it's definitely not for the faint of heart, but it's still a great film. Yeah. Suggest it to all your friends. If you haven't seen it, go see it.
Yep. So there you have it, guys. We got we ran like almost 120 minutes and everything talking about the Batman, but it's a really great way for us to get into like the deep dive about a film such as this, because Batman is one of the most iconic characters of all time and everything. So why not give him the time for that? So I want to thank everyone for watching us. Thanks for everyone who commented in the chat and everything. We love you guys coming on and everything, chatting with us. Thank you for the Michael Duche, tmish.com, Mark Tarkin. Also make sure that we're back on it here again Wednesday live talking about Empire Strikes Back. All right, so there you go. So we'll be back on here live again. So make sure that you catch us. We'll have our partner back in crime, Steel City Hitch. He'll be back in session, talking with us as far as that. Make sure that you guys are again going to nerdcyclopedia.com and clicking on all our links, and make sure that if you're watching this, the replay, hit that subscribe button, because you're going to want to know when the next time we're on, because we're always talking about some good stuff. Thanks again, and peace out.